Hello.
Hi Dan, how are you today? It's this morning for you, isn't it? I'm guessing it's this afternoon for me, just to make things very confusing.
Yeah, it's 11 here, and I thought it was a 4 hour difference because I think it was a month ago and then we switched or something. So
Yeah,
I'm always like a little off for these.
that
You
that that's why I sent you. I think I sent you the email before 3 o'clock. I'm like, right now, Dan's either going to send me one back going, "I'm there, where are you?" or "I'll see you in 10 minutes," or
Yeah, yeah. I was
you
like,
know,
oh, cool. It's in an hour and not 2 hours.
yeah.
Perfect.
We
Not,
changed our clocks an hour forward last week.
right. Yeah. So that's yeah, because it's different. Hopefully that just goes away.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just like-
we keep saying that even since I was a kid, which was, a couple of decades ago. They've always said, "Oh, we should get rid of it," and no sign of it getting rid of. So I think it might be here to stay. Don't know why, but
yeah,
tis a
dumb.
thing.
It's for the
So
farmers. It's
it
for the
is,
farmers.
but why can't they just change the clocks? I don't know.
Yeah, they get up when the sun comes up anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't think it matters to them.
So talking about farming, which was just like the best segue ever, I might add. You have written and directed The Family, which
Yeah, co-written with
co-written.
Adam Booth, my producer.
Yeah, I finished watching that this morning. That was my nice sort of. It's not a popcorn movie, that one, is it? It's very quickly. It tells you, no, you can eat popcorn if you want, but this is not going to be a uh, a laugh out loud movie, shall we
No,
say?
I would say it's not the best morning movie, to be honest. Like,
Oh,
I
it's
think it's a end of the day, lights out kind of movie. So, hopefully it didn't like ruin your day.
not at all. It's made my day. You are the first person I've spoke. No, you're not the first person I've spoke to in like 2 years or a year. But I used to do these sort of conversations very, very often before Mother Nature flipped the world on its head a couple of years ago.
Sure.
So that you're the first person I've spoke to in about 6 months. So if I'm a little bit ropey, please do forgive me.
No, I'm honored. I think that's great.
But it was a good morning film to watch because I did watch it in the dark. Um, nice big screen, 55-inch TV screen.
Awesome.
I connected it up and
Love
watched it
it.
there. Sound booming out, but that is a gorgeous looking film, by the way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really proud of it, and it's awesome that we're actually getting to show it to people because we did a little bit of that last year, but this is, I think, our festival circuit's really starting to kick in, and yeah, it's always exciting for people to watch your movie.
So, what's the
And
feedback
good.
been like so far? And are you nervous at all when somebody like me, well, not necessarily me, because who am I, but I'm going to talk about your film, or have you got used to the fact that it's a damn good film and people are going to like it?
I'll say this. So, like when we first started, like the first main thing we ever did was this competition to win $1 million to make a movie, and it was an online competition, and people had to vote. And people were so insanely cruel in the comments on this that I don't think I can be hurt anymore. So honestly, like I don't get too super nervous anymore. But also the feedback on the family has been unbelievable by far out of any movie I've ever made. It's it just seems to really like had gained traction, and people have been really kind to it and saying the nicest things. And we're doing a lot of these horror festivals, which has been so fun because like a horror audience is a really great audience and they're super engaged. So we did Blood in the Snow in Canada as our Canadian premiere, and people were cheering when people died and that sort of thing. And that was my first experience of that, and I loved it. It was just so rewarding. So it's been really great.
So with Grimfest, I've been covering those festivals probably about 4 or 5 years now, I think. And I've seen a lot of the Grimfest films that they choose. And I've probably done maybe 25, 30 of these type of conversations for Grimfest to this day. So whoever's picking the films at Grimfest, they've synced well with me because one of my nervous things is that I watch a film, I have an interview set up with the filmmaker, and I don't like the movie. It's like
Sure.
how do it's easy when you're writing a review on a website, you go, oh, I wasn't really a fan, blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
to this day, Grimfest have nailed it with every single film they choose. So if Grimfest are watching this, keep doing what you're doing because it's working. Their selection of the films that they choose is just 100%, and that obviously includes the family.
Yeah, you can really tell that, like, just kind of like back and forth with them. And first of all, they've been the best so far. They're just like really filmmaker friendly and just really the communication's awesome. And yeah, you look at the movies that are playing, and I want to see all of them. I wish I could. I don't think I'm going to be able to see any because I'm here in Canada. But yeah, the quality looks awesome. I've watched a lot of the trailers, and they're really exciting. All cinematography across the board is amazing. Production design's amazing. Actually, one of them we've actually done a festival with as well. So yeah, it's just cool to see. Like obviously it's really well curated, so it's really awesome to see.
So when was the family shot? When did you film it all?
So we filmed in September, October of 2020, which was right in the midst of the second wave here in Canada of COVID. So we were a COVID movie. We were very locked down throughout it, and we were very worried we were going to get shut down the entire time. And it was super cold. So that was our filming experience.
Because I remember, the pandemic kicked off, and then obviously the whole world got affected. But movie people like you and film fans like me are like, oh no, how's this going to affect the movie business? The world, this is terrible. Our films are going to get affected. And people were saying what you're going to get is a lot of lockdown films coming out at the end. And I remember a lot of people being worried about that, going, great, we're going to get lots of films where somebody's in an elevator, two people are in a room. Oh, what sort of films are we going to see? But the sort of films I think we're seeing so far, which is why I asked when the family was shot, are so clever. And you wouldn't really think of them as a lockdown film. It's not two people in a room or three people stuck in a bar and keeping socially distanced from each other. I think
Yeah,
because obviously you and Adam did you write this before
we
or
did. We wrote it a couple years ago for another company, and then these things go. It didn't get picked up, and then it did. It was we were in talks with another company to make a movie, and then the pandemic hit, and we were in discussion, and they said, "Do you have any single location kind of horror movies, something that we could make in these kind of COVID restrictions?" And it did work. We ended up rewriting it a lot, and honestly, during that first lockdown, me and Adam were just we didn't have jobs at that point, so every day we were just working on this movie. So that actually really helped us just be able to focus on the one thing. So it was a pandemic movie in the way that we did kind of we're outside a lot. We're in one location. We basically just built ourselves a back lot in like the middle of nowhere in Ontario. So we were good that way. But I remember having the conversations. At some point, someone said like people might not be able to be within 6 feet of each other in pre-production, and I was like, you can't make a movie like that. Like, what was that? Is that going to look like? Like people are going to have to touch it in this movie. So right up until we shot, we just didn't know. Like, there's so many variables of just like what was going to be our like what was going to be our what could be accomplished like with these restrictions in place. So I think we did an okay job considering.
and obviously you did have people within proximity, or is a lot of that very clever camera work? What was it like shooting a film during the COVID restrictions?
Yeah, so I think it would have been worse if we did it earlier. Again, because we're outside. We had tested going into it. We were really bubbled, so cast was able to be near each other. Obviously, all crew was masked. If we were in a room together, I was masked and shielded. You can ask my DP about how it is to light a movie while also having glass in front of your face the whole time. That was hard. So it was fine. Like the cast would come in and they would do their thing and they get whisked away. I'd say the biggest downside to it, and we've managed to remedy this, but I didn't really get to know the cast as well as I normally would because like we just couldn't be that close. And since then, I've gotten to speak with them and like hang out a little bit, and they're all the best. But there was this kind of barrier to us. Like we were like protect cast at all costs. And the crew was great because they were just like so mindful of it the entire time, and we had space and we had a small crew, so like we were able to get through the whole thing without any COVID cases. And but it was on our mind. Adam, more than anybody, being a producer, he did a really good job just making sure everybody felt comfortable the whole time.
So you've got a cast of six. How big was the crew on top of the cast?
I think the crew on a good day was about 40. And then it was coming down a little bit. Yeah, all in all, everybody like who's touched this movie, it's probably closer to like 50 or 60 people in post and that sort of thing. And yeah, cast of six, six, right? Not
I
seven.
think yeah, I think it was six. I counted them up on IMDb. So if
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
seven, you've forgotten somebody, so you need to go check and add them.
I
But
got, I
I
forget.
think it
Yeah.
was six.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, maybe you're counting chickens. I don't know, but then it would put it above six.
The chickens were good.
The
You can't
chickens
say
were
they
good.
weren't.
You need the
Yeah.
chickens. You
So,
need the chickens in the film.
God, I didn't realize that, like, because I've never really been around chickens, but chickens are just kind of like puppies. Like, they're kind of dogs. They're kind of cute, and they have little personalities. I've had to like a lot of like I've had to really manage my whole like eating meat versus vegetarianism after meeting those chickens. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It did change me a little bit.
it did. So you got full vegetarian now, or are you just like, I won't
No, I
think
just try
of
not to think about it too
yeah,
much.
skip one chicken a week, and
Yeah,
it's a start. Small, every little bit will help. Every bit helps, doesn't it?
exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk about your cast because you've got a phenomenal cast there. I don't want to name them all because that's just very easy, but I love them all. I think Jenna and Benjamin, wasn't it? They are my standouts. I think not to say anybody else wasn't absolutely wonderful as well, but they to me were like you know
Yeah.
they were
And
top
those
notch.
two specifically, like when we casted them, like they were the ones that we really ended up kind of tailoring the roles to, because I would say that Abigail originally she was a lot more passive, and then Jenna just gave us this audition with one of the scenes that was written, but it was so fiery. And I just thought, like, no one's gonna hold this girl down. She's gonna, even with all her beliefs, she is gonna find a way to persevere. So that whole arc with her was written after she was cast because we just thought, like this girl's so badass, she has to get through. And then same with Ben, like he just brought this kind of like charming quietness and this kind of loyalty. I think he was a lot more angsty in the original script, but like with Ben, he brought you could understand like how hard this was on him, but he cared for his siblings so much that he could take so much. So I honestly think his character got even harder to play because we just knew Ben could do it. But I agree. Everybody was so good and they just brought such like their own flair to it and we're lucky to have them, obviously.
Because I noticed very early on the character of Abigail, you could see her sometimes in the background watching what was going on. You're way smarter than your character has been at this moment in time, and I'm sure you're going to elevate into. And sure enough, she did. But the cast is just perfect. Very scary mother and father, I might add.
And
Very
like
very scary.
the exact opposite of who they are in real life. Both of them are like very, Tony super maternal. Like I felt like she was my mom on set. She gave me the most advice while directing. She was the one that was like, "Did you think of this?" And I was like, "Honestly, Tony, I didn't. Thank you for that." And then honestly, like just they were just so joyful on set and so funny and like Nigel honestly was just doing TikTok dances with the other ones like, the whole time. And then he would just turn it on. He'd just be this terrifying but kind of charismatic, villain. So it was cool to see. Like I've never really been around someone with so much experience as Nigel does, and like you can see it. He has so much theater experience. He does Stratford plays, which is like a big like Shakespearean kind of town here in Canada. And yeah, he is. He could just in a drop of a hat just go into full father mode, and it was very cool to see.
He does have a very theatrical voice. I was thinking, Malcolm McDowell type voice. I think
Yeah,
in his character. So
yeah, yeah,
terrifying.
absolutely. And again, like we went through a lot of people just trying to figure out who father was going to be, and it changes the you know indie filmmaking. Like you need to find the people that you have, and I think like the worst thing you can do is have this idea in your head and be like kind of obtuse about it because you're working with like only it's so little time, so little money, you just have to make it happen. So we figure find the best actors possible, tailor it to them, see what they can do with it, and that was kind of our philosophy.
And I think it's worked out really well, hasn't it?
I think
Definitely.
so. We are here.
So you mentioned the feedback's all been really good. Is there a specific type of feedback that you've been getting? Is there a certain aspect of the film that they're zoning in on that they liked so much? I mean, obviously not going into any spoilers. So
Yeah, I think like there's three things that we get the most comment on. Maybe four. So acting, obviously, people like love. I think people love the world that we built. So production design, Mercedes Coyle, she built all that. That house didn't exist really before she got there. It had to be gutted. It needed all drywall. It was disgusting, and then we redisgusted it. And then with Adam Masrick, who's just like a boy wonder of a cinematographer, and we just got nominated for a CSC here in Canada for cinematography, which is super exciting. So the two of them, working together, and the three of us actually lived in a trailer together for the entirety of the production. So we were just like this, kind of like we just felt like one group, little group, and we were just like tackling everything, and it was just so awesome to have the two of them so close by the whole time. So I think just people love that world and like what we were able to do with it, and then the third thing is like the score, and Dylan Baldessaro, who I've been working with my entire career, has never disappointed. He's just a genius, and he always brings it, and I think he did again. So that's the thing that just elevated the film so much. Sorry, that's my dog.
So even the dog has feedback too. That was quite
Exactly.
good. Can you
Everybody's a critic.
can you translate what Dog was saying about the family there, or
She's mostly worried about people eating her food and people walking by our hallway eating her food. So
that is
she's not a film buff.
really? She may get there. She may get there at some point. But I would recommend she watches the family. She might try and jump at the chickens, which is never good.
Well, she was on set a little bit, and she did try and jump at the chickens. So
Oh no, that's not good. You can't have your members of the cast being eaten by.
no,
That's not good. So, what is the
no.
release schedule for the family? Obviously, you mentioned you're doing the festival run at the minute. I did see on IMDb. I think it was September this
Yeah,
year. It's penciled in for.
penciled in for. So, we're obviously just kind of feeling out our run. We're doing a bunch of festivals here, CineQuest in the States, Julian Dubuque in the States. We have a bunch lined up for June, which I don't think I can talk about just yet. So once that's we're feeling that out, it does feel like it's going to be a fall and then worst case early next year release. But you're going to have to ask our distributors for that.
I'll just keep an eye on it. I tend to, and that's also what I love about Grimfest. One of many things they love me to do. They let me do these things, which is fantastic. But they do sort of highlight films that aren't mainstream films. Obviously, any major film magazine we pick up, it's all franchise and comic books and the
Sure.
indie stuff. I've always been a fan of because you just see absolute gems that maybe don't get showcased in, a multiplex in Manchester or London or something, but should.
Yeah. No, it's the same here, honestly. Like without festivals, there's just so much content out there. It's hard to find. So like you just really trust these people to bring you, as you said, gems that you might not see. So I love it too. And like that's the best part about doing a festival run is, we opened in Busan last year, and just the quality of films, like, and it was literally because it's still kind of a COVID festival, so it was just directors that got to go. But I saw everybody's film, and like they were all amazing, and I just don't think I'd ever get to see these films otherwise. So it's always exciting.
I mean, this sort of Grimfest started. I mean, Grimfest has been going for years, but they used to just be in physical, in person festival, and then over the past couple of years, they did a bunch of virtual festivals, and now they're opening back up to virtual and in person screenings, and I think the family will look fantastic on a huge screen.
It's definitely made for a big screen,
Mm.
and anytime we sent screeners to people, it's always my kind of little preamble of watch it in the dark and watch it on a big screen because it's just meant for that. And I love that streamers are great in the fact that like you can get so much to your home, and I watch more movies than I ever have before, but like I can't give up watching movies in a theater. That's what I missed through the pandemic more than most things. It's just sitting in a room where you have no distractions and just taking in something. So I can't wait to get back to that.
I even for screeners and including yours, headphones. Not these headphones, but a bigger pair of headphones.
Yeah.
Curtain shut, big screen,
Love
headphones.
that.
Everybody stay out of my room, and then
Yeah.
sit and watch it. It's as close to obviously it's not the cinema experience by any means, but it's closer than watching it on a laptop. Or I don't know how people can watch films on laptops. Just
No.
just wrong.
No, for sure. No, that's awesome. It's nice to hear. This is why we do it, right? So it's always nice when people take the care to get the best experience possible.
So a couple of sort of final-ish questions. What was the first scene that you shot? Because that always me curious.
Okay, so the first scene was, without giving anything away, the first time they have to run into the house to stay safe. So the first time they're kind of under attack and they have to run down into the basement.
Yeah,
It was
because
a big
this
scene.
is because your film is in chapters, isn't it? And I think this was chapter 2, wasn't it? If I recall that part right.
You'll know that better. I'm the
Okay.
worst with details of things. I
Really?
put things
Okay.
out and then I just try and move on from them. So probably that sounds right. I think it was the start of chapter 2, so that's good.
I think that was the first moment in the film where my brain went, okay, right, and then I was in. But yeah, I think I do know that particular scene. What was the final scene that you shot?
Okay, so the final scene we shot was, I think the final scene was Abigail and Caleb in the basement. So our final week was all the basement scenes, which ended up being, I think it's like a third of the movie, which we shot in 1 week. It was the only week we did fully days. So we, 7 to 7 or something, which was so nice after doing nights. I'm not writing nights into a
You're
movie
not,
ever again.
are you not a fan of night shoots then?
I'm not a fan of night shoots. I am not at my best at night shoots. I'm grumpy. I need sleep. I've decided in my 30s that it's time for me to get a proper amount of sleep. So yeah, the last major scene we shot was the two of them when they're kind of talking about the threshold and she's starting to question things. But it was a great week because that was like the most intimate. That all those scenes are so tiny, and that was the most time I got to spend with the cast. And we were kind of through the COVID scare, so not that we were like letting up on anything, but we just like it felt better. It was warmer that week, and we really like tackled a lot of these like emotional scenes, which like for my whole career, I've built off of dramas and coming of age, and I think I snuck a lot of coming of age into this horror movie. So like I just felt like really in my pocket for that week.
Now, what was the most fun shoot? In fact, I'll rephrase that question slightly. So, in 5 years' time, the family is out on whatever platforms it's out. You're sitting in your room there and you're thinking back, what is the most fun memory of the family that will probably pop into your mind, do you think?
So, we shot almost all of the dinner table scenes in one crazy night. It was like 11 scenes in one night, and it was really cold. It was cold. It was about as cold in the house as it was outside because there was no insulation. It was a fake house. And the vibe was so silly that whole day. Cast losing it. Mercedes and Lisa, who is our props master, they made this food for the cast and they were eating it all day. And I think one of them had this idea that the food shouldn't taste good because it wouldn't have tasted good, and they thought that'd be really, great for the story, which I agree, and then hilarious for the cast to eat this like really bland food. And I just that whole day was so silly. And there was this one scene where father comes in, he's chasing them, he's chasing Abigail out of the house, and we've rehearsed it, we've done the things, we're going to go. We call action. He runs in. He's screaming after her, and Nigel. He like turns it on. He's just screaming after her, and he was still wearing his mask, and everybody just lost it. So that was a really really good day. And I will just say like the first day walking onto set because I've done a lot of indie films. This one had a bit of a budget to it, and just to walk on set and see these 80-foot cranes lighting up an entire field and seeing base camp and seeing our COVID check-in and seeing pylons, and like I didn't do any of that. I just showed up to set. So that was a really gratifying moment for me because I really felt like I kind of made it at that moment. So just like when everybody does a lot of work and it all comes together for something you wrote down once, it's a pretty cool feeling. So I think I'll remember that forever.
And I think after, at that time you were shooting it, 6 months after the world collapsed, and it was like, what are we going to be on the set again? This is crazy. So that must have been really good to be back, see the cranes, see the cast and crew.
It was a crazy year for me too. Like that year with COVID and everything, and I was going through a pretty big health scare, so I didn't think I was actually going to get to direct it. I was dealing with end-stage kidney disease at the time, so like I really had a whole bunch of doctors get together and make sure I could make it through this film. And then same, the crew was like really making sure I didn't have to lift anything because I just literally couldn't. So like a lot of stuff came together for that to happen, and I'm so pretty thankful that it did for a lot of reasons. So yeah, happy it did.
I'm happy it did too, because it was an absolute joy to sit down and watch. It looked like a very cold, a very sort of muddy type film, but I'm sure I've been on the sets of horror psychological thrillers quite a few times, and the atmosphere is pure fun. It's so different than it is when the cameras are rolling. So it sounds like it was a similar experience, on set of Family.
Yeah, we just overall just had the best cast, best crew. Like everybody was just really positive, and they really put in. Like we didn't have enough people to do what we did. Like Sheldon, our gaffer, literally was running all the cranes at some point because we had no one else to drive them. Because if someone was a little sick, they didn't come in. So we lost people a lot. it was a lot of fun at times and a lot of work at times, and like people put in the work because yeah, it rained almost every day, which is awesome for the look, but
Mm.
you know, pretty muddy and slow moving when you're doing it. So we wouldn't have gotten through with the crew we had. Like they were just all rock stars and they delivered.
And what was the sort of time scale for the product, for filming itself?
We did 20 days, which was, you know, with our budget. I know a lot of people try and push for 15. We couldn't have done it. So 20 was the absolute minimum. And even that was, you know, we shot a lot of scenes in 45 minutes at the end of days, you know. So it was about 20 days and then about 4 months of post, which, you know, Sydney was our editor and we had Art Jail as the colorist and Dane doing sound. And yeah, we did all virtually, all post. So I didn't see any of them. I went in for a final sound mix and you know double masked, and that was the first person I'd seen in 4 months.
It's definitely been a weird couple of years, hasn't it?
Oh boy.
It really has. I remember people sort of saying, "Oh, it's been a weird year. Can't wait till next year." And it's like here we are, over 2 years of it now. But things do seem to be getting a little bit easier with certain
Yeah,
aspects. But I'm
yeah.
not. I'm
Everybody
not.
says that very apprehensively. Just knock
Yeah,
on all the wood. I think we're okay.
pretty much.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, here in the UK, our Prime Minister, who I'm not going to start commenting about because he's an idiot, but he's just like, "Oh, it's all over, it's done." I'm like, "Is it really though? Is it?" So that
yeah.
hence my apprehension. It's like he may say it's over, but I know it's not.
Yeah,
So
we're in the kind of same boat in that, you know, people are tired of it and we're
mm,
running a huge experiment to see what happens and we're going to find out in a couple months and I'm really hoping for it to, you know, all work out.
me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go back to actual Grimfest events where I can attend. So I'm looking forward to those. But I'm going to be keeping an eye on the family. I'll be keeping an eye on your career, not in a weird stalky way, just a general film fan way. But no, I want to thank you and the cast and the crew for making the film because I did have an absolute blast watching it this morning. So
Cool. I really appreciate that. And if people want to find out when it's releasing, we'll end up posting about it on the Family West Film or Instagram at underscore the Family Film. So that you can keep up, and it will come out, and it most likely will be this year, and it'll maybe be next year.
brilliant. Well, I look forward to it and enjoy the rest of your day, Dan.
Yeah, thank you
Okay,
so
shall I
much.
let
It's
you
so
go.
nice speaking with you.
You too. Take care. Have fun.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.